Everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Hello, welcome everyone. I'd like to call the regular City of Vacaville Parks and Recreation Commission meeting of August 2nd, 2023 to order and ask Secretary Floncia Reyes to please call roll.
Commissioner Oz.
Here.
Commissioner Baruman.
Here.
Commissioner Gutierrez. Commissioner Shea.
Here.
Commissioner Thompson. Vice Chair McMahon. Chair Vasquez.
Here. And if everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, thank you, everyone. So moving on to approval of the agenda. Everyone has had a chance to review it. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion. Okay, so motion by McMahon and seconded by Baruman. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, agenda is approved. Moving on to the approval of the minutes from the June 7th regular meeting. Does anyone have any revisions to the minutes? Does staff have any revisions? No? Yep, everything looked good. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Okay. Okay, so motion by Oz and second by Shea. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so minutes are approved. Next, moving on to agenda item 5, communications. Recreation Manager Ocampo, have we received any communications?
We have none, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And moving right along then to agenda item 6, which is a presentation on teens and therapeutic recreation. Recreation Manager Ocampo, would you like to do a quick intro?
Yes, thank you so much. Tonight we have Megan Howard, Recreation Specialist 3, and our Interim Recreation Coordinator for Teens and Therapeutic Recreation. Go ahead and grab a seat, Megan. And Tiffany Ricci Western, Recreation Supervisor over those two program areas. And tonight, Megan will be taking the lead on this presentation. I'll give her a minute here to pull that up and get started.
Chair members, vice chair members, and commission members, excuse me. So I would like to get started here. So I would very happy to be here as a Vacaville citizen. I went through my own teen program, so I'm very honored to be interim coordinator with these programs today. I go along and I design our teen programs always with our teen priority in mind. I provide a safe environment for our teens to engage in the community, and we provide an opportunity for growth, skill development, and creative self-expression with all of our programs. One of our favorite programs to plan for our teen events is our VacaCon. It is definitely the biggest event for our teens, and they love coming to it. As you can see, some of our cosplay members here. We were happy to have Roger Press. He brought some of his friends with him from LA. They go ahead and attend some of Marvel premieres, and they dress up for them. They do different cosplay costumes. As you can see, this R2-D2 costume here, he actually allowed us to go viral on social media and promote our cosplay contest all across social media, and we're very excited. Due to this expansion of the event and how big we've gone on social media, we are now being able to do a 2-day convention. We're going to be offering more panels. As you can see, Austin Legay and Roger Pressa, they're on the panel here discussing with some of our community members how they built their costumes, how they got inspiration, and actually the community members, they go up and they ask questions to them, they get inspiration from them, as well going up to their booth afterwards and getting pictures of them as well. You can see some of our cosplay participants here. We have a family that had won our group cosplay contest for this year. It was very fun to see them all on stage participating together. Next slide, please. Oh. So our teen advisory group here, it consists of our local teens between the age of, between the grades of 7th and 12th grade. They will be meeting bi-weekly along with the school year. As you can see in the photo here, they are doing some of bonding activities that we always start our meeting with to get them loosened up and start getting creative with one another. They are ongoing and planning upcoming events, and they actually participate in the events as well. They will break out into small groups and develop different aspects of the events where they best fit to get their creative juices going. So our Babysitters Club here, it is offered through a company called Safe Sitter. It allows our teens to get the experience and knowledge that they need to start their own babysitting company, and pretty much they all work together and they learn each other's skills from one another. They share contact information, and I teach them CPR. I teach them how to manage their clients properly and also how to get along with the kids as well. Our driver's education here, it is offered through Economic Driving School. The company has been in business for 30 plus years, very reliable, and I've actually gone through them myself when I did my own driver's education. Very, very quick and easy to do. The participants are able to get a discount code through our teens programs. Instead of paying a $68.50 fee, they're only paying $41, which is very beneficial for those teens who may be paying for it on their own. So some of our challenges with the teens is definitely keeping up with our ever-changing trends, and also competing with that digital and social media trends. So they definitely want to be online, and we'd like to be able to get them out of their phones and back into the programs. Along with, we would like to be able to connect with them on a larger scale, and go into the schools a little bit more and have them know about our programs. So what we're excited to go into next is we've just received a portable Vacaville. So we're going to be renovating that to be our little teen hub. And so the teens will have a location to go to after school, learn about the programs that we have going on, as well as our tag members having a place to go and have their meetings planned there. We are very excited for next summer to get going our Leaders in Training program. Once again, we're going to be teaching these teens how to be our own Parks and Recreation employees with some trainings, and then sending them off into the different departments in which they'd best fit. And then, of course, VacaCon, we're getting bigger and better. We're going to be doing a 2-day convention with April 20th and April 21st. We plan on getting some bigger celebrities, as the success of last year has provided us the opportunity to do so. So we're very excited to offer that to the community. And then any questions or comments about the programs?
Questions or comments? I would, oh, yep, I got it, Commissioner Shea.
Thank you for the presentation. I just had a question. I love the teen program. As a teacher, I think it's incredibly important to give, youth practical and employable, things to do, right? Like you said, other than being just online all day long, because that is a draw. How can teens participate in the advisory program? Is that something that you're always actively seeking participants for? Is it something that kids have to apply for?
Yeah, we currently have an ongoing process. We're actually recruiting for our tag members out of Creek Walk Weekly, passing out flyers to all the teens out there, and they are required to apply for the program. They do sign up on Civic Rec, and then once I get that sign up, I send them over the application, and then we are set to interview these participants late April to early September, and then we begin meetings on September 11th. Or September 12th.
And then you said that you had just put a portable at Vacaville, and you're expanding a leadership program there. Do you have partnerships with other schools in the district, or is that like a pilot thing?
No, this is a portable that has previously been used for storage and has already been in possession of the Parks Department.
Okay. So it's kind of like a first time thing
Yeah.
to have it at the school like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thank you for the presentation.
Of course, thank you.
All right, I have now Commissioner Oz.
Oh, we do have our therapeutic rec commission as well. Oh, excuse me, sorry.
Yeah, well, just following up on the Vacaville site. So if I'm a teenager and I go to that site, what are some of the programs and activities I would expect there? I'm
We
just
would
kinda-
have pamphlets available for them to see what activities they can sign up for, as well as be hosting our paint and pizza nights there, our tag meetings there, some of our craft nights there, some of our just smaller scale programs would be run there, so it wouldn't have to be out of Lattice and more of a fun environment for them to see.
bringing the recreation to them.
Exactly. Yeah. And so if a students after school came up to the building, I can hand them out pamphlets and say, hey,
Yeah.
here's my upcoming program.
Great. Well, that's where the teenagers are. And so I
Exactly.
need to actually be there,
Exactly.
tap into them before they leave school. Yeah, good. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Commissioner McMahon.
Thank you very much, Megan, for the presentation. I have a couple, I know keeping up with trends is hard with teens. It's changing daily. A couple ideas, and I didn't see them listed, but perhaps like self-defense classes or social media safety. As great as social media is, it is dangerous as well. And sometimes young people don't realize that. And so I think that might be a good opportunity for us to explore and to ensure that our youth are educated on that and make good decisions while using social media. And also, I believe it was called leadership and training, right? I heard you talk about, that they come and they explore and learn about different positions that are available with the city. I know that we're always in need of lifeguards, and that's kind of a revolving door every year because our young lifeguards will go off to college, move, whatever the case may be. And it is an excellent job for a young person. It's got very competitive pay. And so I hope that we're exploring all those opportunities and ensuring that our young people know that those opportunities are available to them.
Of course.
Thank you very much, Megan.
Yes, I'll definitely look into those program ideas.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McMahon. And just to kind of piggyback off a little bit of what some of the other commissioners have said, what does the relationship with the City of Vacaville's teen program look like with, I guess, some of like maybe like the counselors at Willis Jepson or Vacapina? And, like, I think, they tend to do a lot of leadership stuff too. So I think maybe kind of trying to get connected with them and see what they're doing, or if there's not always a lot of leadership opportunities at all the school sites, like with student council and stuff. And so maybe students who maybe didn't get into a specific position at their school, maybe trying to tap into the kind of like students who don't have leadership opportunities at school. I don't know if you've connected with any of the counselors at the
Yes,
school
we're
sites?
ongoing trying to work on a relationship with the school district right now and try to get our way into there a little bit more. I've recently tried to reach out to the principals individually to see if we can go into the schools and then hopefully get their contact information from the principals themselves.
Yeah, nice. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And then we've got the next presentation, right? Okay.
Okay, so our therapeutic recreation, our mission is always to focus on the ability rather than the disability, and we always say it's a person first. So we offer our classes to have inclusion and acceptance for everybody. We hope to remove barriers and provide our accommodation, and we would like to increase independence with our participants as well as confidence. Our classes, we hope to provide opportunity for education, skill development, and then also in community integration. Our sensory room is definitely a favorite of our therapeutic rec program, as it allows parents of children 6 months of age to 5 years old to go with their children in our crafts that we did throughout our summer camp. We made sure to integrate outdoor time with them. I call it wiggle time, where we make sure they're moving their muscles and moving their bones and thinking about how their hands are moving. As you can see here, some of our participants love playing in the ball pit and using our glitter to really get into it. Miss Brianna here is actually one of our participants with autism, and she had sat there making her glitter for about 30 minutes just trapped in that glitter. So this program was definitely beneficial for her and all of our participants there. And then our karaoke night, it is definitely a very fun one for me, as I was a choir kid in high school, and now I'm able to provide it for our participants here. They come up and I give them a stage to sing in front of their peers. We sing different Disney songs. They are free to do sing-along or sing on their own. Family members come, we provide snacks and drinks, and it's very, very helpful for these community members to make them feel like they have their own little party hub to go to once a month. And during one of our programs, we actually had a wonderful opportunity for one of our participants. So I'm going to read this out. My 4 girls, 2 of whom who are on the autism spectrum, attended the Therapeutic Recreation Karaoke Night at the Vacaville Center. To say that they had a blast would be an understatement. The facilitator was very knowledgeable of the trending songs that were popular for children in their age groups, which ranged from 3 to 10 years old. My 10-year-old autistic daughter, who's nonverbal, amazed us all by singing every word to her favorite Disney songs. They danced, had drinks, ate snacks, and literally had to be forced out the building. Thank you for hosting such a beautiful youth event that was accepting for youth with special needs. I look forward to my children attending similar types of events in the future. So some of our challenge with Therapeutic Rec can be educating the community on what we do offer for them. Oftentimes we come along and we tell them about, oh, Therapeutic Rec, and they say, I didn't know that existed. And so it is ongoing, us passing out flyers and getting our word out through social media about what programs we do offer to this community. As well as we'd like to keep the costs low for our participants. A lot of our participants are also dealing with other costs throughout their lives due to their own diagnosis. And so keeping this cost low for the participants is definitely a good way to keep them integrated throughout our community. And then as well, transportation to and from to our events as well. Some of our participants are independent, and so, but they do not drive on their own. And so we'd like to be able to provide some transportation to the events themselves as well. Our upcoming events here, we are hoping to be able to offer an annual fundraiser to be able to lower those costs off of our participants. We'd go out to actually our Play for All park because we'd also be able to have more of a presence out there so everyone knows who we are, what we're offering. This fundraiser, we're hoping to have different vendors out there to pay booth spaces and have different entertainment for our participants and definitely gain some funds for these participants. We're also hoping, along with those annual fundraiser at that Play for All park, we're hoping to have just monthly events out there and let the public know that we are definitely trying to be a presence in their community. We're possibly wanting to rebrand the Therapeutic Rec program as a whole. And we are hoping to come up with a new name so everybody can kind of understand what our goal of Therapeutic Rec is. Oftentimes we say Therapeutic Rec and they instantly think of workout activities. And so we're hoping they know it is fun for all. And we're hoping to further our collaborations with other groups that are within the local community. We have SODA that we've previously worked with, which is social organization opportunities of disabled adults. And then PEP, we have Parents Empowering Parents, and then SOCO here. And so we're hoping to be able to develop more of a relationship with them so their participants know about opportunities of fun for them. And then hopefully we're being able to expand some of our summer camp into 2024 and offer some more sessions throughout next summer so our participants can be having more fun. Those camps just filled up instantly and the kids have so much fun. Yeah.
So much for both the presentations. Do I have any commissioner questions or comments? Commissioner Shea.
Thank you again for the presentation. This is a topic near and dear to my heart. I'm a mother of a son who has autism and a sister to a brother who is also on the autistic spectrum disorder. I have a lot of questions and a lot of suggestions. First, the sensory room, you noted, you said that it was age span like infancy to 5 years old. Have you guys considered doing like other sessions for other age groups? There are a lot of people that are on the spectrum that, you know, have sensory needs throughout their life. Sometimes they evolve, but they typically don't ever go away. And so that could be an opportunity for older individuals or like, you know, teenaged or even some adult individuals to benefit from the playroom. Just an idea. I just know that my brother, who is in his 20s, still has, you know, sensory needs and might be interested in something like that. And then I also, has the program looked into vendorization through North Bay Regional Center and getting approved as an official vendor through North Bay? Because I think that would help a lot with attendance and could even potentially help with, you know, transportation for a lot of their clients, because that's, you know, a lot of they have those benefits already built in, right? And so that's something that could just, be funneled into them getting, the opportunity to sign up for some of these programs.
Have been in the process.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And then I think that's it for now, actually. That's a big one, is the vendorization thing. Thank you.
I've got Commissioner Oz next.
Thank you for your presentation. Just a couple questions. Is there any certification that's required for the instructors or putting together the program?
For our coordinator position, we would like ideally for them to have a certificate of that. Me, for currently interim coordinator, I have taken all my courses needed to be able to do the courses, but we are hoping to be able to fill the position with somebody more qualified than myself.
Okay, great. And then when you were talking about the marketing of these opportunities, so you certainly try to have a relationship with the school districts and these other organizations, and so you're reaching out to them. Do they provide like a target list of individuals, families that might be interested in this, that you could actually use that to go directly to them?
Unfortunately, no, I have not received that information from them.
Just thinking that might be a little bit more added expense, but if you can do
I definitely could put the request in because
yeah.
it never hurts. To
I would think that there's got to be
Yeah.
lists.
They can't. So that information is covered under FERPA laws, so they can't, and HIPAA laws, so they can't willingly give any identifying medical information, identifying somebody as having a disability.
Okay.
Sorry to jump in.
Thank you, Commissioner Shea, for the clarification. Commissioner Oz, any other questions?
I think.
Okay. Commissioner Berruman.
Megan, thank you so much for both presentations. I mean, you can tell that you have your heart into everything that you're doing, and you're actually doing a lot of informational things. And I'm learning tonight. Also, you mentioned something about cost. What does it cost as far as to get your child into something like that?
Our average events, I try to keep them between $10 to around $30.
Okay, so it's pretty reasonable. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for everything.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Berman. I had one question and one comment. The sensory room, where is that located at again?
Payton Recreation Building.
Oh, okay, Payton. And then in terms of rebranding, I think that's a great idea. I think when I probably first heard therapeutic recreation, I wouldn't have associated it with the program that you're running. I definitely would have thought more of like sports rehab or something. But I think it would be great if you all like consulted with like PEP and SODA. I think that they probably would have a lot of good ideas of how you could potentially rebrand that would make it more appealing or maybe more welcoming, or just a title or name of a program that would make sense for their community. And the families are really great. So I think they'd have some probably suggestions for that too. So any other commissioner questions or comments? No? All right. Well, thank you both so much, Tiffany and Megan, for the presentation. Really great work that you're doing out there. And I would agree with the challenges slide on the teens. I have two, and they are very challenging with all of the social media and all the things, trying to get them away from their phones. Thank you both so much for the work that you're doing. Moving on to agenda item 7, business from the floor. So this is the time to address the commission with issues or comments, questions that are not on the agenda, but are within the commission's subject matter jurisdiction. There is a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. So if anyone would like to address the commission tonight regarding a topic that is not on the agenda this evening, please introduce yourself and step forward. And then you'll see the timer too on the screen.
Hi, everyone. I just want to thank you I am from the pickleball community, and so I appreciate everything that you have done for pickleball and tennis as well. So that's just most importantly why I wanted to just come and thank you, because we are excited. We have funding. But with that, I wondered what the plan looked like for our pickleball courts, because we will be sharing it with tennis. So I wondered if there was some kind of divider. Like there is at Alamo Creek tennis courts. There's a beautiful divider between the pickleball courts, and between the tennis courts, actually. And then with that, if there could be a divider between each pickleball court, because when the stripes were drawn at Three Oaks Community Center, they're too close together. And it's really uncomfortable when you're playing your game. You're kind of aware of what's going on over there, so you can't focus on your game. Your ball is going over into their court. And so it happens with tennis too. Not as much, they're a little bit better players than we are, but so I wondered about that. And for safety reasons too. And also we have raised funds for a bench for one of the OGs that brought pickleball to Vacaville. And so we have money. We haven't gotten communication back from not sure who, but like we got money. We want to spend it. We want to have a memorial bench for her at North Orchard Park. So if I could have clarification on that too. But most importantly, thank you for loving pickleball and tennis as well. We're here to support tennis with what's happening today on the agenda, so thank you.
Thank you. I think maybe have a staff member follow up after.
Absolutely. I'm going to connect you with Parks Manager Wallace in the back. He is the man to talk to with all those items.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Joan Marquand Wilsey, and greetings to the commission. I'm here with my friend Alice Freed, and we are going to keep coming to the meetings to let you know that we're putting in our ideas with the neighborhood around Magnolia Park to bring pop-up business and social opportunities to the park. There is not dedicated commercial property there yet, and Southtown is a traditionally residential part of Vacaville. So we feel we could bring in some things to try out our ideas. We're planning hopefully a pilot project with some pop-up businesses and activities to test out the idea for support in the community. We had a meeting last Saturday. Commissioner Oz was there with us, and we are starting to gather a few neighbors with us to do it. So we're hopeful, we're optimistic, and we also have support from our councilwoman, Vice Mayor Wiley. And thanks for listening to us, and we'll be back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Paul Linville. I'm a Vacaville resident, and I'm also a user of the dog park, the large dog park at Centennial Park. I'm just here to start the discussion regarding a MR system for the enclosure, because what brought it up was a couple of weeks ago. One of the elderly female users pretty much came close to passing out because of the heat. And what I proposal is, and he has a copy of my proposal project, which I gave to him, is that I will purchase the MR system and put it in. The cost of it is 5 minutes for somebody to turn off the water and turn it back on, and 5 gallons per hour while it's being used. I will pay for everything else and do all the other work. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. I think maybe we can connect him to.
I know that there's going to be a presentation here in a few minutes regarding MR systems, and then something else with Centennial Park. I've already talked with Hugh about it, but I just wanted to bring up this discussion to start with because, like I said, I'm willing to do it all. I'm a plumber and pipe fitter before I was a cop, many eons ago. So There's myself and a few other plumbers that we can put it together, make it structurally sound, and make it safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
I too just wanted to thank you for what you've done for the pickleball community here. When we were here back in June, Vice Chair McMahon started speaking and I got a little choked up. So I didn't give you the proper thanks when we were here last. So I just wanted to say thank you, and I'm doing it again. Thank you very much for, giving us more than what we even asked for. So hope to see you out there on the courts. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Seeing no other public comments, I'll go ahead and move on to agenda item 8A, which is our first business item, the Centennial Park Master Plan being presented by Park Planner Hugh Hesterman.
Good evening, Chair Vasquez, fellow commissioners. I'm very happy to be back in front of you tonight with the master plan for Centennial Park. As you are well aware, it was first presented to this commission on May 3rd of this year, and there was a number of questions that were brought both from members of the public and also of yourselves asking us to address those issues. We think we now have hopefully properly addressed all those things. And we have with us tonight Scott Redding, who is with Helix Environmental Planning. Meredith, who presented it previously, wasn't able to be here tonight. So Scott has just a little bit of a response, basically, to the various questions that we heard and we think we've properly addressed. And then we would hope that you would be ready tonight to approve the master plan for the next steps that we would put into place on this. And I'll just go over that real quickly right now while I have the mic. Once this commission has approved a master plan, the next step is for us to begin the CEQA process. And we believe that might take perhaps as much as a year. And the city has already requested proposals from qualified consultants to do that work. I unfortunately couldn't come to you tonight with the results of that. We've received it, but I don't have the information. Once a consultant is selected and the work is begun, there will be a long period of doing all the investigative work, potential extra studies that will probably be required. And then we will take this master plan with the CEQA draft CEQA document to our planning commission. Again, a public hearing there will take place, and so the public would have another opportunity to provide comment. And then ultimately, when the planning commission is satisfied with that document, it would go to the city council for their final approval. So tonight, in front of you is a modified document. We're still calling it the draft master plan. You'll notice it says July 2023, so we're trying to track the versions, but it is still technically a draft. It hasn't been approved by City Council. So Scott, would you like to pick up here, and I'll see if I can man the board.
Sure. Good evening. Again, I'm Scott Redding with Helix Environmental Planning. We're before you this evening. There were 3 items that were brought up in the May commission meeting. One of which Hugh already mentioned, which is the CEQA process. 2 other items that were brought up. One was construction phasing, which I understand was discussed at the June 7th commission meeting. There was a presentation by Landify ECT, which basically looked to help in the construction of phase 1 at no cost to the city in exchange for importing fill to the specific areas within phase 1. And then the third and final one had to do with the number of parking stalls. There were some comments and concerns that there wasn't perhaps sufficient parking, particularly in peak events. So we've gone back and we've adjusted the park's plan. We've increased the parking slightly. The one that you saw in May was 948 paved parking stalls. That includes ADA stalls and that. That was increased to 1,038. The iteration in May had 100 additional parking stalls. And the version you have before you has 210 potential overflow parking for special use events. And
Thank you, Tracy.
so up before you is the most current draft master plan. Again, there weren't any significant changes since when we last met in May. There just have been some adjustments for parking, which I believe are on the next slide. So this addresses some of the commission comments, also having to do with circulation. So we wanted to ensure there were no dead ends into the site. So you can easily enter and exit to 2 points on the south and 1 on the north. Areas identified in the yellow dashed lines, those are the areas for potential overflow parking. And again, those would be just for, peak events. And again, the standard parking areas, which are a little bit difficult to see on the screen, but they're grayed and they have the parking counts along with the ADA stalls in them increase slightly, like I mentioned. So again, we feel that we've addressed the issues that the commission brought up previously in the May meeting.
Yes, and regarding the phasing, which Scott just mentioned briefly, you received the presentation from Landify at the, what was it, the April meeting, June meeting, I guess it was. And then that same presentation was provided to the city council, who gave us staff direction to proceed with a MOU with Landify Company to begin the process of developing a plan for working with them to implement phase 1. So I'm happy to say that the council also was very excited with that concept of being able to provide everything in the phase 1 area, essentially at no cost to the city. And hopefully that answers the concerns that were expressed at the meeting of why is phase 1 moving ahead before, for example, the rec center, which is for the approval of the plan.
Great. I think before we take commissioner questions or comments, is it okay if everybody good with opening public comment? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open it to public comment. So this would be the time if anybody in the public has questions. It's a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker regarding this specific business agenda item on the Centennial Master Plan.
I'm just curious as to why we have to go with a company from Paris to get clean dirt. Well, like all the dirt that's coming off the freeway right now, like, isn't there a local? Why do we have to go to Paris?
Well, you make it sound like the dirt's coming from Paris. Yes. It's a little bit off the subject, but regarding the Landify business model, they will make the connections with contractors who have available dirt. A lot of times contractors will already, when they go into a contract with, say, a city that they know they're going to be generating extra material, a lot of times they already have it all planned out where it's going to go. And that work needs to be done up front. So yeah, it would seem more efficient that you would get dirt from within Vacaville to use in Vacaville. And honestly, some of that may occur. We don't yet know the answer to that totally.
Other questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close public comment and open it up for commissioner questions or comments. And I'm going to start with Commissioner Oz.
And thank you for the presentation, Scott. On the, so the CEQA is going to take about a year. I mean, so I think the whole room would probably agree that this is a great plan. These are great improvements to the park. Maybe quibble over some of the details, but I think the big challenge is getting it funded and getting it developed. So the CEQA process is going to take a year, right? And then you're working on a memorandum of agreement with Landify, and I'm guessing that's going to just basically be probably a feasibility analysis of can they really fund the entire phase one? Because I know that was sort of committed, but until you really get into it, you can't quite guarantee that. So I don't know how long that process takes, but at some point we'll know whether it'll be phase one will be fully funded by that. Is that right?
So the way we're approaching this is because they are, I guess you would say, untested in the United States. I think it would be wise to do it piecemeal. In other words, say we're gonna go into a contract to do the first piece of phase one, and if everybody remains happy, then you go into the next section. Everybody remains happy. In other words, have some checks and balances along the way to make sure that we're achieving the goals that we believe will benefit both the contractor and also the city. At this point, we think it would probably be, we would probably be able to accomplish all of phase one with the business plan that they have proposed. So the agreement then would give us a phased approach within phase one, in and out for the city and or Landify if something and just didn't work out. Did that answer your question?
And then, so there's no need to go out to RFP for
Correct.
phase one if you enter into this agreement?
Yeah, this is a very unusual thing. It's in California code, the city would normally have a set of plans prepared for each thing and then go to, we typically go through an RFP for that, but then it would be low bidder for the actual construction. And because in this case, there's no exchange of public funds, it in essence is a design build project.
Design build project.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm guessing that memorandum of agreement would come up with terms on when they would start development. Can we anticipate as soon as because it looked like from your staff report that the CEQA is going to take some time, but you're really not anticipating really any issues for the most part. So, I mean, can we get constructed done as soon as CEQA is completed, or hopefully there's not another 6-month delay before you can start?
So there will be a design phase. And you mentioned about quibbling about some of the details. That's when we will be doing the quibbling about the details, is during that design phase. Landify is anxious to begin that work and start holding some public meetings before, oops, am I doing that? Before, I don't think I am, before CEQA was completed. But I think you're right. We feel like this project, or the land, the park, has been very well studied over the years. Lots of information has already been gathered. We don't foresee, and Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, we're not aware of any, red flag issues, any things that would kill the project. There may be some things that we have to adjust and modify, again, why the master plan is still draft. But we can actually begin some of the design work. If we're confident with going forward with Landify, we can begin some of the design work, some of the public outreach, and start the quibbling, the discussion of those details before CEQA is actually done.
Is that design work done with Landify, or do we hire
Well, yeah, that's a good point. So part of our agreement with them is that they will fund all of that. Yeah.
Just a couple other things on the parking. I like the idea of having the overflow parking, so you're not unnecessarily constructing too large of a parking lot for spaces that you're needing just a few times a year. So that I like that concept. And then lastly, the master plan draft. We talked about this last time, and I went back and looked regarding the pickleball courts. In there, it actually indicates that the tennis courts will also be striped with pickleball, and that's how it's written in the master plan. But I wanted just to confirm that that's not the case, that it'll be just exclusively tennis court.
We apparently failed to catch that.
That's right.
You are
I just
absolutely
wanted to
correct.
confirm. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this will be exclusively tennis. Uh-huh.
Great, thank you.
Any other commissioner questions or comments? I have Commissioner McMahon.
You, Scott, thank you very much for the presentation. The plan looks great. I do have a couple questions. Thank you again for bringing the revisions to us. I think I agree with Commissioner Oz. I like the parking lot concept as far as, we don't want to see a lot of empty pavement out there not being used. So we do have an option for big events with overflow parking. So I do like that. Can you confirm, is there a drop-off zone there at the proposed rec center? Will there be a drop-off area?
Yes, I'm pretty sure there will be. Yeah, similar to what we have at our senior center.
Okay,
Something
very
like
good.
that,
I
yeah.
think that's important. We did have a gentleman talk about the dog park. It is hot in the summertime. If we can have some sort of system out there, perhaps with misters out there, that part of the park does get extremely warm. So it's something to think about, with the dogs and the visitors out there. We get just include that as well. Also, and I'm sure this has been brought up or considered, but I'm looking at this plan and it's at the end of the runway. So we're looking at building a multi-story rec center at the end of the runway. I'm sure that we have talked with Solano County Airport Commission or the FAA. Is there any issues there with the airport and a tall building at the end of that runway?
So the airport, there's a land plan for the airport with different zones. And you're absolutely right that the building would need to be outside of the danger zone, if you will. I think, do you recall zone D? I think the building is in. Do you remember, Scott?
My memory's not that good, but
Okay.
I think it is.
Yeah, it's not really at the end of the runway, but at the way the airport is configured is there's multiple zones. And the most dangerous ones, which is to be the approach and the takeoff areas at the end, both ends, are prohibited from having any kind of, occupied space. And then it gets into as you proceed outward from there, the danger is lessened. So we would definitely respect that, and that's definitely an issue. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And then also, help me out here. How many proposed tennis courts do we have here?
So yeah, good question, and I apologize to Commissioner Ross, and thank you for catching the error in the text. Apparently, we're proposing six tennis courts. They would be lighted courts, and when we get into the details, there may be the potential there for changes, but this is a master plan level. So we're saying we think 6 will fit in the space provided. We think it's the right number for the area. If something comes up that, say, CEQA uncovers, I don't know, who knows what might be there, but it could possibly change. But the master plan is showing 6 lighted tennis courts.
If that does change, if it reduces that, we have an alternate plan for the tennis community to relocate that somewhere in the park, or?
We would evaluate that at that time. We don't have a plan B for that at this point in time. I can say that the existing tennis courts there have been shunned for many years due to the high winds. And so we've carefully selected this area as being fairly well sheltered from those winds. And most of Centennial Park is exposed to winds. So there's not a lot of other really good areas in the park that have that shelter space.
Well, thank you very much. The plan looks really, it looks great. It's exciting. I hope that we can move forward with this tonight. So thank you very much.
Any other commissioner questions or comments? I don't see any. I have a few. Not to be surprised. I'm going to be a little honest here, a little brutally honest. I'm going to say that the staff report was hard to follow and hard to understand what had been changed. And I had to pull up both master plans, the one from May, and the one for today's meeting, and just kind of like scroll through and figure out like what had been inserted and try to assess what had been deleted. I mean, I know that these 3 topics were included, but I had to go and dig for, well, how many more spaces are we adding? And just trying to find the information. And also, I had a question about whether or not Landify was approved by City Council, and that wasn't really included in here in the report. And so it wasn't clear to me when I was reading the staff report, does that mean then we can move on to phase 1? Because City Council has approved it. I literally have a note, what happened at City Council, because I didn't happen to watch that meeting through. I did notice as I was scrolling that some of the overall cost had changed for the different, I think it was in phase 1 or maybe phase 2. Do we know what changed and why?
They were actually in error on our behalf with the
in
spreadsheet.
addition?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So we corrected that.
Perfect. That's even better. Okay. And then I think my biggest concern still is going to be the parking. And again, just concerns with were the constituent groups that use Centennial, like Vacaville United and Vacaville American Little League, if they were consulted on this. I think I'm probably like the squeaky wheel that drives all of staff nuts of like, did you talk to constituents? Because these folks use these parks like for 9 months out of the year and frequent the parks. I know there's commissioners that sit on this dais that are frequent users of the park, myself in particular. And so, I think that while I understand the decision or the recommendation to not, to make the overflow parking, I guess, probably just dirt or gravel or something and not have it paved. I think it still continues to put us in this position as a town of not having the space to, if the leagues or even if the town wants to host a tournament, whether it be soccer, whether it be Little League, we still don't have the space. I know Commissioner Thompson and myself have gone out to tournaments, and you go to these other towns that have a lot of space and, great fields and amenities, and we continue to lack that as a city. And so I think it's just a little frustrating to see that the overflow parking is just kind of, thrown in and not really considered as an additional need. I know we added like 100 and something more spaces. Because I think it was 900 and something prior. But, I do think it becomes a little bit challenging to not have the space when we have the physical space to have additional parking. Trying to think of my other questions. That's all I have for right now. I don't know if you all want to address any of that, but I have Commissioner Oz back on the board too. I'll go ahead and open your mic.
Yeah, I was just going to tag on to some of those questions. I mean, what was the method for determining the amount of parking spots? I would think that would be a very challenging to do. And then my related question is I know CEQA looks at traffic as an impact. Is parking part of that as well?
Not to my understanding, no.
Not part of the
It's just
traffic per se, but it would be part of the overall review to make sure that we are providing enough for each of the facilities. The challenge with Centennial Park is we're accommodating so many different activities there. And it would be, in our opinion, it would be a waste of funds and a waste of the land and perhaps environmentally sensitive to pave to meet the max. In other words, if everything was going on all at the same time, kind of like a shopping mall on December 24th, right? Where everybody's out shopping, and then the rest of the year, you've got this big empty parking lot that could be perhaps used for some other uses. So our approach here was that rather than dedicating a space that really only serves as parking, if you have an overflow area that is flex space, that then opens up the door to perhaps some other uses. And I'll use Lagoon Valley, for example. We have the two big fields, north and south of the restroom. And for the really big events, you've probably seen it where it is just a sea of parking there. But during other times of the year, we may have the cross-country team uses that for their finish line, or we've had the Civil War reenactment, we've had the Renaissance Fair, we've had all kinds of other things that have used that flex space for things other than parking. And if it was all just simply paved over, we would need to follow, well, first of all, we'd have to follow city code and put in, the lighting and landscaping, the curbs and all that. But it becomes a heat island that is, I would say probably, I think my calculation was 99.3% of the time would not be utilized. It is a something to grapple with, and we see at a number of our other parks, Andrews Park, we bring the not the circus, the carnival in there, and the entire grass area is dried up. It's a managed area, right? So we dry it up and we put disc blades on the irrigation heads so they don't get driven over. And then we have 18 wheelers pull in with all of their big equipment, and we got thousands of people in there using that space, and then they're gone. And then when they're gone, our maintenance guys come in, they apply water, they get it looking good again, and now it's a nice park again. So I see it rather than overflow parking, I see it more in the idea of flex space, where you can use it for parking when you need it, but it can also be used for other things throughout the year.
Are you proposing the similar type of overflow parking that you would have at Andrews then?
Well, so each of the...
It's not gravel,
Yeah.
it's not dirt.
Right. Well, each of the 4 areas are different. It's kind of unique.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to go through those with you if you'd like, but each one of them has kind of, each of those 4 areas that we've identified in that plan has a unique secondary or other uses that it could be used for. Also, I should mention during the CEQA work, each of these areas we'll take a closer look at that as we dial in, both from our experience here in town and also from what we know at other places, certain types of facilities may require for that parking. Our current city code is very flexible, I guess you'd say, on recreation, the requirement of how much parking is required for rec space. And that's a good thing, because rather than having, say, one soccer field, boom, you need 60 spaces, you can say, well, what kind of soccer field is this? Who's going to be playing on that soccer field? Are they going to be driven there? How many, and you can more carefully tailor the number of parking spaces that's needed for that particular use. And that's our goal, is to try to dial it in as closely as we can.
Challenge is it's more of a destination park than it is being surrounded by residential development.
Yeah.
So.
And also we don't have the opportunity here to put parking on, say, Browns Valley Parkway. Even if you were to set up a shuttle or something like that, you'd have to go a ways to make that work. We've actually done a little bit of that out at Lagoon Valley, where we've shuttled for the really big events. We've set up shuttle systems to try to make it work for those maybe once a year, twice a year kind of things that occur. And another thing that we'll try to work on is with the different groups, so that they don't all plan a large event on the same day, same morning, same Saturday, same day of the month, and thereby not creating these really complex events that are creating undue needs for parking.
the challenge with planning in California is just the Californian is so reliable on their automobile, and you end up planning your cities, planning your parks around the car rather than for the person. And so that's really, but that's the reality that we live in.
I like that point of view.
Chair Vasquez, would you like me to address some of your other questions or?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would like to know if the constituents were consulted at all after our feedback and in between presenting from May to today. And then I also have more comments from Commissioner McMahon.
Okay. So specifically regarding the other constituents, we have reached out to them through YSAT at the meetings and made sure that they're kept aware of the progress. And of course, Commissioner Thompson is involved in that. They also have been invited to the public meetings, and they will continue to be. We were talking just today about how we can kind of more streamline our public outreach. I think for the Centennial Park, I think the opportunities for public comment, not just the constituents but everybody, I think we've done a very thorough job of that, and it's been going on for literally years. So it's not like there's a new concerns being brought up. And then as we get into the actual design of the individual areas, we will focus in even more directly on each constituent group. So for example, if we're looking at the baseball improvements around there, we would definitely say, hey, talk to us about how you use this space and how we can design it to better fit for you. And we have people already raising their hands as a result of some of these public meetings saying, hey, I want to be involved in, say, the bike park aspect or the dog park or whatever. And so we have sub lists. It's kind of informal at this point, but we will be developing even more defined sub lists for each of those areas as they come together.
Commissioner McMahon.
Thank you, Chair. Hugh, help me put this in perspective. So the plan was for 948 parking spots. We've increased that to 138 with the current plan that's sitting in front of us, correct? I'm not 138, 1,038, excuse me.
Yeah, correct. Yes.
To put it in perspective, how many are there now currently? And most of the parking looks like it's situated around the ballpark, the baseball fields and the soccer fields. How many are currently out there now? Do we know that?
I want to say 360. I don't have that information in front of me. It might be actually in the existing.
So with that said, we're tripling the amount of parking.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
I think that's a good thing. And again, I understand the point the chair is making. But again, if we have empty asphalt out there 99.9% of the time, it reminds me of forgive me, I don't know the name of the church on Leisure Town that has the massive parking lot. You drive by there,
Mission.
And the Mission. And that parking lot is empty 99.9% of the time with probably 1,000 different parking spots out there. Even on Sundays, it's half full. And if we make more parking, just like we've expressed, that takes away more parkland. So I think I do like the idea of kind of a multi-use overflow parking. We can use it for other events if we have to. And it's just less asphalt, which is better for the environment, and it doesn't heat up that area as much. So I think there's a lot of benefits to that. And again, we're tripling. It sounds like we're nearly tripling
the number
amount
is
of parking
380.
that's currently there. So, and I think it is. Everybody brings up great points, and it's almost a perfect storm. If there was a massive soccer tournament, a huge baseball tournament, and some sort of event going on at the rec center, we may have a parking issue. But how often is that going to happen? And I think we can coordinate between the different organizations with baseball and soccer. Their seasons are different. They overlap, of course, depending on what kind of sport you're participating in. But I think we can work together with that. And I personally am very comfortable with the proposed parking situation. Thank you.
I have Commissioner Shea next.
Thank you for the presentation. My dilemma is We've seen this presentation a lot. We're not the first ones to have seen it. This has been coming through and in development for years and years. And we've talked before, I think, about the slow rate of bureaucracy and getting things done versus, is this something we'll see in our lifetime? We're getting much closer now, right? And I hate to hear nitpicking. So like, or not nitpicking, but just, wanting to make everything perfect. It's such a big project that there's also the drive to get everything just so and please everybody and make sure everything, we can foresee any problems that might happen. So it's kind of like weighing that. Do we want to just, get this done, or do we want to make sure it's perfect? And I think that maybe answering the question, that some of the commissioners still have overwhelmingly, like about parking and stuff. We, did bring up there are things that we can quibble over later, is overflow, adding even more overflow parking. One of those details that we could, quibble over later. Could we potentially identify maybe a couple other spots throughout the actual development process that might, put a lot of the people who have, an interest in those bigger events at ease? There are, I've been out there at Centennial. There, is a need for parking now. It does look like it's increased a lot. But you even mentioned, Hugh, some more creative ways to alleviate that too, like shuttling. Napa does really, really well with like big, I go to the, I think it's the Fortinet Open now in Napa at the Silverado. It's a beautiful event. They bus people. It's so organized, and Bottle Rock and all those. I think that turning an eye to like those more creative solutions too, as a quibble point as we go through the process, might alleviate some people's concerns. But I think that also I am kind of driven to just get a move on. Like let's get this thing going, because I think a lot of people have been waiting a really long time for it. So is that something, are those details that could still be revisited throughout the development of the park?
Definitely.
Perfect. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Shea. Any other commissioner questions or comments? I've got Peruman.
Well, I've been listening to all my commissioners' concerns and everything, and Hugh, you do a fantastic job of answering all the questions. And now I know why you're in that position. And I go, because I would not want to be in that position. But I mean, you can't always make everybody happy. And I've been around for a long time. My face doesn't show it, but I've been around for a long time. But you're never going to make everybody happy. There's always going to be that one person or whatever. But I think you've gone far and beyond, tripling the parking for overflow. I mean, that's a lot. But it takes a lot of space, like some of the concerns. How can we utilize those spaces when they're not being used? Do a little pop-up event or something like that, or whatever being the case. But I think myself, I feel that you've gotten everything. And I still have a concern. I think the lady, she came up here and say, why can't we use our own dirt and have to get it from Paris? But, that's something too that's kind of different. That's, there has been a lot of dirt being moved here in Vacaville, especially downtown highway and over there at the Lagoon Valley. So I know they have a process of eliminating what's in the dirt to bring it into us and all that good stuff. So they're bringing it from another city to utilize in our city.
So to answer that question, that would be totally up to them. But
Okay.
there's an economics certainly to be considered. The further you haul the dirt, the more expensive it costs to do that. So if they find a contractor more locally that is looking to get rid of dirt, it would be more local dirt. And if you can't find those people, then you go a little further and a little further. I personally participated in a project that Dixon did a number of years ago with a detention basin, and the contractor who got that contract to dig that basin, they already had a contract in Sacramento where they needed all that dirt, and so they bid it really low because they knew where that dirt was going. So it's all in dirt brokering.
Yeah, dirt is expensive. Yeah. So for myself, I'd say we make a motion to move this forward to the city council.
Okay, Before I entertain the motion, I had Commissioner McMahon on the board.
Sorry, Sean.
No, Commissioner Berman beat me to it.
Okay, I was wondering. Okay, so I have a motion by Commissioner Berumen and a second by Commissioner Oz to approve the Centennial Master Plan and move it on to City Council. Oh, yes?
Pardon, it's actually just to approve the Centennial Master Plan.
Oh.
It will not be going to council.
Oh, no, okay.
The simple
Sorry.
motion is up on the
Thank you.
screen. Thank you.
So I have a motion to approve the Centennial Park Master Plan and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Well, thank you. Thank you both for all your hard work and bringing it back to the commission and listening to all of our exhaustive feedback and the bureaucracy, like Commissioner Shea says.
Thank you very much. This is going to be a neat process to get this started.
It's time.
Forward to it.
It is time.
Pop the champagne.
Okay, so where am I at? I am on agenda item 8B, presentation of water features within parks. And it looks like Tricia will be presenting.
Good evening, Chair Vasquez, Park Commissioners, and members of the public and city staff. For the record, I'm Tricia Kagiat, Associate Park Planner for the City of Vacaville, presenting on interactive water play features. This is an informational presentation, so no decision is being asked of the Commission tonight. In recent years, there has been a general interest in interactive water play in places like warm climates like Vacaville. The demand for water play in Vacaville goes back several years. There's no level of service for interactive water play and identified in the city's Parks and Recreation Master Plan. However, the outreach for the Parks and Rec Master Plan resulted in Goal 1B15 to add interactive water play features where feasible to provide an option for water play. The city of Vacaville currently has one interactive water play feature, a flow-through splash pad in Magnolia Park in District 6. A planned interactive water play feature is also being proposed for Trower Park in District 3. And then Brown Street Park also in District 3, and the revised Nelson Park plan in District 2, and the revised Centennial Master Plan in District 1. The term interactive water play features covers a variety of, sorry, having technical difficulties. So the term interactive water play features covers a variety of water play equipment like spray jets or water fountains, which are located at other city facilities. However, for tonight's presentation or discussion, we'll focus on splash pads and misting pads. There are two types of splash pads, a recirculating and flow-through system, and then lastly, misting pads. The first system in our discussion is the recirculating system. The water is sprayed out and drains through an inlet and down a pipe. The water goes through a recirculation filter and is disinfected with chlorine and ultraviolet light system to kill germs before it's sprayed again. Restroom facilities will need to be on site. The associated equipment with this system will need to be a minimum of 300 square feet under or above ground. Both the restroom and the associated equipment will make the recirculating system suitable for regional or community parks, which are the largest parks in our system to accommodate the space. In terms of cost, the recirculating system has the highest construction cost due to the additional equipment necessary to treat and store the water and restroom. Maintenance costs for a recirculation system include annual replacement of the filtration tank, components and pumps, purchasing of the chemicals, maintaining the water spray components like buttons and nozzles, and keeping the drainage clear of debris. There are long-term maintenance costs for a staff member to be certified pool operator or CPO, certified to be able to test the chemicals and maintain the system. In terms of water usage, the system will use less water than a flow-through system, but more than a misting pad. So this diagram shows how a recirculating splash pad works. Shown here is the above ground spout water equipment visible to all park users. Below grade, there's a water line that will fill the 4,000 gallon tank with portable water on an as needed basis. This tank is what feeds the above ground features. Once the equipment has discharged the water, the excess water goes down a drain where it will be treated chemically and with UV lights before going back into the tank. The control panel and pumps is needed to operate this system. The second system, a flow-through system, has the water drain down an inlet, and then it's conveyed through a sanitary sewer storm drain system away from the park. This system is susceptible to drought ordinances. This system would also not require access to on-site restrooms. The system also has a lower maintenance cost as it does not include a tank or equipment that treats water. The associated repairs and maintenance include maintaining this water spray components like buttons and nozzles and keeping the drainage clear of debris. No chemicals are used to treat the water on site, and the used water is not treated or reused on site. Therefore, this system has the highest water usage, more than both the recirculating splash pad and the misting pad. The flow-through system can be converted into a recirculating system in the future. So this diagram shows how a flow-through splash pad works. The above ground structures look the same as the recirculating system. These systems also have water main lines that feed the above ground features, and the water will funnel through a system of valves, shown here in close-up. When the water is discharged, any water that goes down the drain is then conveyed off-site via storm drain or sanitary sewer line. So the last system, a misting system, the above ground features of the misting pad are the same as splash pads. The primary difference of this type of feature is the volume of water output. A misting pad has nozzles that create a light mist, shown in the slide. This system will not trigger the need for the same amount of space for the equipment and not require a restroom. The water mist is so light that it will evaporate on the user or from the ground. And this type of system's installation and maintenance would be comparable to a flow-through splash pad. Since the water output is low, this type of system is less likely to be impacted by drought ordinances. So this diagram does not show water lines and drainage lines, but would operate similar through like a flow-through system. The above ground water spout structures look the same as the recirculating system and flow-through system. And the system would have a water main line that feeds the above ground features. The water is funneled through a system of valves, but will spray a light mist. So one common component found on all interactive water play features is surfacing material. Option 1 is pour-in-place rubber surfacing, and then option 2 is broom finish concrete. Pour-in-place is more expensive to install and maintain. It has a life cycle of up to 5 to 8 years, and it allows for creative designs. Concrete is less expensive to install and maintain. It has a life cycle of 10 plus years, and if colored, could require a touch-up. And then another common component for interactive water play is themes for above ground equipment. The above ground equipment, such as water spouts, functions the same as interactive water play features and is what a user, most likely a child, would interface with. Some of the common examples for design themes for spray equipment are flowers or animals or sports. Vendors have many more types of themes and can create custom features, similar to the prairie flower and California salamander used in the Magnolia Park splash pad, which celebrates local species found here in Vacaville. Misting features would be limited to shorter equipment, so the light mist can more easily make contact with the users. And this concludes my presentation. Staff's available for any questions or comments the commission may have. Thank you.
I need to open this to public comment, correct? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open it for public comment before I open it for commission questions or comments. Is there any public comment? You can come to the podium, 3 minutes per speaker, if you have any questions or comments about this specific agenda item. Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and close public comment and open it up for commissioner questions or comments. And I have Commissioner Oz first.
Thank you, Tricia, for your presentation. I thought it was incredibly thorough and your staff report was great. So thank you for that. I hope you're settling into the planning team well. So I was really excited to see this on the agenda. I'm glad to see that the Park and Recreation Master Plan identified it and the community spoke up that this is really a need for our parks here in Vacaville. Through my professional work, I work with a lot of park and recreation districts and other park and recreation departments, and I know interacting with them over my 22 years that that this is really very, very popular across the state, and it's really becoming really planned for in a lot of parks. So I know that we're on the right trend. I think that the reason that they're so popular is that aquatics facilities are so costly to construct. They're so costly to maintain. The cost recovery is very, very minimal. And so this does provide a little bit of not necessarily replacement of an aquatics facility, but some opportunity for particularly young kids to just go out and play in water. And if you recall back to your days, my days as a child, I mean, just putting a sprinkler in the front yard and running through it back and forth was often just enough. So I really like this as a concept. Just as a little side note, I coincidentally last Monday had the opportunity to take my some relatives, a 3-year-old little girl and a 5-year-old little boy, out to Magnolia Park, and we spent quite a bit of time at that splash park, and it was fantastic. It was I'm sure it was very inexpensive to construct. It was held up really well, and the kids were just loving it. So I'm really in support of splash parks. Just a couple other thoughts. So it looks like a recirculating water feature would be, I know it's really crude, but about a third more than a flow-through system. Is that? And
putting me on the spot. I'm not that good at math, but
yeah.
I can give you some tangible numbers. So according to the vendors that we spoke to, a recirculating system would cost approximately 650 to 700,000 today, and a flow-through system would cost about 500,000. And then to retrofit a flow-through system would cost the delta, so about 200,000. And just for clarification, the misting system is comparable in terms of the equipment and the water line and the drain line to the flow-through system, so it would also be about 500,000.
With the flow-through system, I mean, it's interactive, so it's not just constantly I mean, I guess there's different systems, but it's not constantly running water. It's interactive. The child is actually usually has a button or something to press that creates that water. So if there are no children, there's no flow, right?
Right. So in the city of Vacaville, we do have seasons for water play. I believe it's from May to October. And so other months, the button could be pushed and then water wouldn't come out. And then during the seasons for water play, yes, if the water is pushed or the button is pushed, then water would distribute out. I don't believe it's continuous. I believe it's timed.
Well, yeah, I think it's timed as well because every once in a while you hit those buttons, and I actually had to tell some parents, I think that it's timed. It's not necessarily anytime you hit it, it flows, right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay. No, great. I would think that the flow-through system would be sufficient. But if you were going to do a much larger, I mean, I guess it would depend upon the size. I would think that if it got to be a really significant sized system, you might want to do recirculation. But the more medium sized ones, it would seem to me flow through splash pad would be sufficient. I'm not necessarily a fan of the misters. They don't do a lot, and I think the flow through systems, if they're designed right, you're just getting sort of tapped with water. The kids aren't actually necessarily getting soaked, because as a parent, you want your kids to be able to go there, get a little bit wet, but not get completely drenched and then have the need for a towel or something like that.
Right. Yeah. So for all the systems, the water, I guess, speed or like strength, that can be controlled. And so that can be monitored and reviewed by staff, as appropriate if we feel that water usage is too high. And so there is opportunities for adjustment. And we can like study those water flow rates as they progress in a park.
My only last comment was just the pour in place rubber at Magnolia Park was starting to crack a little bit, but it was still in good shape. But I don't really have an opinion one way or the other. I haven't seen the cement foundation versus the pour in play, but might be a little bit more durable, or it might be a less longer useful life if you went out with the cement.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Oz. I have Commissioner Shea next.
Thank you for the presentation. I had kind of an alternative viewpoint to Commissioner Oz, who you said you don't like the misters because it's not like your kids don't get as wet. I just don't think you've met my 4 boys yet, because they manage to completely drench themselves and anybody within like a 10-foot radius. They like devise systems of funneling the water further than it actually can go, and they can get pretty creative. So I actually was kind of, as a mother, right, with 3 very rowdy young boys, I was thinking, wow, misters sound really nice. Like, that sounds lovely. I would even, when I'm out there with them and it's, 100 degrees out here in Vacaville, I would even like walk through the misting system and we'd get to, stay longer. But you're right, it is more high energy and more fun the more water that comes out, right? So that's what so that was kind of leading to my next question, was because the misting system and the flow through system are so similar, are there hybrids, or is that something that's in practice? Is that something that would be easy to do and have, a couple of, singular splash features with the rest being misters to kind of help with, conservation, here in California, right, is always a concern to kind of mitigate some of the water usage?
Yes, I believe there are opportunities to have like mixed versions of, I guess, spray nozzles. The difference in like the aesthetic look of the piping and everything, they look the same, and it would be the nozzles. And so there could be opportunities to adjust them, as we see fit for the style or type of use. Have a mix as well.
I think that's, well, my other question, I guess, is do we have, because it's something that's been identified in the master plan, do we have, a best or preferred practice in place as far as, what would our preference be going forward in putting these features in parks? Is there something that we kind of, as a city, prefer to do, or is there a plan for that?
So the master plan itself doesn't have any guidelines on the interactive water play features. It just basically states that, the community wants them and that we should encourage them in, different facilities as it comes up. Um, I think staff is open to like taking in comments for best practices as the commission sees fit. But staff is also researching and working with water play vendors and architects and designers to see all the new modalities and things like that. So we're always kind of on the up and up on training and getting to know what available features there are upcoming as we design.
Actually, like to elaborate just a little bit. It's a good question. So one of the reasons that we stress the amount of equipment that is necessary for recirculating systems and the fact that they trigger the need for a restroom is that alone will sort of dictate where the appropriate locations to locate some of these types of amenities are. It likely won't be a neighborhood park because we typically don't encourage restroom facilities for neighborhood parks. It would be something more of a destination like Centennial Park. And from a staff perspective, even though we don't have a level of service that we're trying to hit, we are cognizant that it gets hot in Vacaville, and whenever we get the opportunity, like at Nelson and Hugh with Centennial, they have been integrated into those master plans, both of them. So we're planning to, be equitable and distribute them around town whenever we get the opportunity.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Shea. I have Commissioner McMahon.
Thank you, Chair. Nemo, I think you just answered my question. So my concern was this. I love the fact that we're entertaining the water feature play areas in our parks. It's almost a necessity in Vacaville during the summertime. My concern is where they're at and the proposed. We've got one in District 6 on the south side of town. We've got several proposed for Trower and Brown and Centennial. Those are all within a 1 mile radius of each other. We've got one proposed at Nelson, which is in District 2, a community park. And District 4 and 5, there is no plan for that. So I think it's really important for us to make sure that I like the fact, and you just alluded to the fact that, some of our bigger splash pads, the recurring splash pads, perhaps at the community parks, some of the smaller, maybe the flow through, are misters at our neighborhood parks. But I think it's really important that we spread those out throughout the city. We've got some on the south, some on the north, but we kind of forget about the middle, which is District 5 and 4. So I hope moving forward that we can strategically come up with a plan for that as a commission and just ensure that those are spread out throughout the city evenly.
Yeah. The challenge with any sort of improvements is obviously the funding. The reason that it's easier to sort of implement these sort of newer types of trendy amenities sort of along the edge of town is because that's where the development is occurring, and they are paying DIF that is then funding the park. The challenge for us, obviously, is sort of the core of town where maybe we're landlocked and there isn't a ton of development going on. And so one of the reasons that we're taking advantage with Trower is that we do have this special opportunity with Measure M to integrate the system into, again, a part of the town that isn't necessarily going to get enough DIF to sort of implement this type of amenity. And so we're cognizant of the challenge, and we're doing our best to address it, but it's a great comment.
Great. Well, I appreciate the explanation. And like I said, I just think it sounds like it's already been considered and we're aware of that, but I would just like to see them spread out so that, the whole community can enjoy it, because I think it's great. And I would, in a perfect park world, we'd love to see these in every park, but it's just not realistic for us. So thank you very much for your work on this.
All right, thank you. Any other commissioner questions or comments? I have a few. I don't have anybody else on the board. Let's see. Which one do I want to ask first? Do we know like what the other, I guess, local jurisdictions, surrounding areas, what type of facilities they have or that they've implemented? And I don't know, do you talk to your fellow peer park planners in like Fairfield or Winters or Woodland or any of these kind of other like Solano County, Yolo County areas to get feedback from them?
Yeah, my understanding is that, working with like Hugh and Nemo, that they are, and myself, we all are in touch with our peers on the neighboring water features, and we also work with designers who also work with these jurisdictions. And so as we design, we also get feedback or implement or connections with other jurisdictions as well.
Awesome, thank you. And then I saw in the staff report that the splash pads require a CPO on staff, a certified pool operator. Do we have one of those on staff, assuming we
Yes,
support Walter Graham?
Yes, we do have a CPO. We even have one in the room. Elizabeth is one.
Oh, I didn't know that. Look at you. She's certified.
She is certified.
Okay, so that wouldn't be like an additional cost if a consideration for a full-on splash pad for the city, additional cost for a CPO, wasn't kind of factored into your shovels and on the little display?
Apologize. I believe that depending on the availability of the CPO staff and depending how many systems of recirculating systems we have, that could change. We may need additional CPO staff. Hard to say right now.
Elizabeth, you want to say something? Add something?
So in Public Works, the majority of the staff are all CPO certified. They have a rotation system for maintenance at the pool, and they're all now required to be certified pool operators. So I will not be solely responsible for water features.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. That's helpful to know. I mean, I didn't know what a CPO was, so, okay. Let me see. I feel like I had one other question. The infrastructure of the splash pads, all the stuff that's underground, what is the lifetime expectancy for those things? I don't know. Because you're saying it's, $500 to $800,000 to install. Does it last for 10 years? Does it last for 20?
I have we didn't touch on that particular subject with the vendors. But it's like any other drain line or water line. I assume eventually it does have to be replaced, but from a time frame standpoint, I have no idea.
Okay. All right, cool.
Want to add that I believe a recirculating system though has a shorter lifespan because of the pumps, right?
Yeah. So again, the recirculating system, the advantage of those, and as a consultant, I worked on a lot of parks in Sacramento and Natomas area, and they have a tendency of using those types of systems because they're, again, you're using a substantially less amount of water because you're essentially reusing the same water. In California, the minimum size of tank is 4,000, and you only have to replenish about 1,000 gallons per day, as opposed to a flow-through system or a missing system. All of that water is lost the minute that it comes out of the spout. I forgot what the question was. I apologize, Chairman.
The life expectancy of the infrastructure.
Right. So no different than the pool. a recirculating system has a treatment system. So that's one piece of equipment. And then it has a pump that then essentially pushes the water from the treatment to the tank. And then we've got the tank. So all those additional 3 pieces of equipment would have a shorter lifespan. But in terms of the infrastructure, so the drain line and the water line, that would be comparable to the other underground utilities.
Do you know how old the one is at Magnolia Park?
I know someone who does.
Someone in the room? And then the only other comment, I don't think it's really a question, but just in terms of if and when we get to assessing installation of a water feature, and we are looking at like the rubber versus cement, I think it would be helpful to know, like, does one come with more injuries than the other? And so if, obviously the rubber is much more expensive, but in my mind, it would seem much more of a safer product than cement. I don't know if that is fact. I'm not stating that as fact. It's just in my mind. But I think that we should assess that and consider that, even though it's more expensive and has to be replaced, it sounds like more frequently than cement. Like if it is a more safer product and we'd get less injuries when children are playing in water in that space, I think that would be a better option.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So just to expand on that a little bit, I think if that were the case, if the rubber surfacing was indeed safer, they would certainly use it as a marketing ploy, but I came across no data for that. So I'm not entirely sure that that is actually the case. I think aesthetically it's more, fun to look at or play on, but I don't think that there's actually any data that sort of proves that through.
Good to know. Okay. Commissioner Oz, I saw you came back on the board. Okay.
Well, just my other question, just the flow-through system had the risk of having to be shut off because of possible droughts or water restrictions. Did you gentlemen know previous water restrictions that we've had during previous droughts? Was Magnolia water feature shut off, or did it?
Was shut off, but it wasn't.
Have to convince the council to keep it turned on. Okay.
With all the water play features, it's the public perception that sometimes dictates whether you might shut it off or not. For the Magnolia Park water play feature, we actually had the original plan showed that area to be grass, just plain turf. And I did some calculations on that. If there was a kid out there pushing all of 5 buttons every day for 10 hours a day during the period that it would be on during the season, it would use quite a bit less water than simply keeping that turf green. But the public doesn't know that. They see water coming out, and the question is, as Trish pointed out, is you can adjust those nozzles into everything from a very fine spray to a larger quantity of water, and that dictates then with each push of the button how much water actually comes out, and that's very adjustable.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, thank you, Tricia, for your first presentation to the commission. And thank you, Nemo, for your backup assistance as well.
Thank you.
All right, where are we at? We are on agenda item 9. So 9A with committee reports, Play for All Committee, Commissioner Shea. Open your mic. There you go.
Thank you. So as many of you know, City Council recently approved funding to move forward with the parking lot expansion at Play for All, which is excellent news. But there's, a lot of things that need to happen before that begins development, public bid process, amongst many other things. And then the next big goal after that win is that they will start development on the ball field. It was initially in the original plan supposed to be 2 ball fields. But after the board communicated with like the Challenger League and other leagues in town that would benefit from the ballpark, they said that 1 is enough. This allowed them to have a little bit more wiggle room with the aesthetics of the park. So it's going to be really cool. It's going to be a mini replica of Giant Stadium, which is really exciting. It'll be very fun for people to go visit. And that's like the next big move over at Play for All. Some other additions are the Rotary Club is going to install a labyrinth at the park. Kind of like a little mini maze for wheelchairs or ambulatory people. And then the board is also collaborating with Quick Quack Car Wash to install a drive-through misters feature. And since we're talking about all these water features, it's like it'll be, likely a mini Quick Quack that people can go through and get misted and cool off. So those are some fun developments that are coming up. So there's a subcommittee that is going to be working on a fundraiser. So stay tuned for news about that. And that is all I have for this month.
Thank you, Commissioner Shea. Any commissioner questions or comments for Commissioner Shea and Play for All Park? Okay, seeing none, moving on to 9B, Vacaville Arts and Cultural Alliance, Vice Chair McMahon.
Thank you very much, Chair. I have nothing new to report. Unfortunately, I missed last week's meeting, but Arts Week is scheduled for September 15th through the 25th here in Vacaville, and all the details for that can be found at the Visit Vacaville website, which is www.visitvacaville.com. And there will be different events and throughout that period of time. And like I said, all the details are on the website. So that's my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments for Vice Chair McMahon on VACA? All right, seeing none, thank you so much, Vice Chair McMahon. Moving on to 9C, Vacaville Performing Arts Theater Season of Shows Committee with Commissioner Oz. It's a mouthful.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, the Vacaville Performing Arts Theater has got a lot to offer. As I was just preparing my remarks for today, I mean, if you really go to their site or you subscribe to some of their social media posts about what's going on, it's just really overwhelming that a community our size has just got so much entertainment opportunities with such vast different and coming in vast different forms. So I think that we're really fortunate to have VPAT. Just a few that events that are coming up. The 47th San Francisco Bay Area Comedy Competition is Friday, September 15th. The Journey Revisited is a great band. I've actually seen them. They're Saturday, September 16th. And then for you Beatle fans, there's the Get Back Abbey Road featuring the Beatles Guitar Project Rock Orchestra on Friday, September 29th. And then lastly, one of these nights, Songs of the Eagles, is Sunday, October 29th. So that's just 2 months. You can go see comedy, Beatles, Journey, and the Eagles all locally here in Vacaville. So just really great. So the committee is working on the season of shows for the next year, and I'm happy to report that we have 4 already lined up. One is a country band called Lone Star, Lone Star's Christmas and Hits, and it's Sunday, December 17th. So this is they had some really great success in the early 2000s, but a great band there. So we have some country. I've previously mentioned that we have Step Africa, which is a signature performance that shares in the step tradition, audience participation, and percussion symphony that really brings the crowd to their feet. So that's going to be really, really unique event, and that's coming on Saturday, January 20th at 8 o'clock. We also have recently locked in the life and the music of George Michael. So it chronicles his music when he was with Wham, and then goes into his solo career. So that's on Thursday, February the 1st at 8 p.m. And then we also have Jim Brickman's Hits live in concert, which Jim Brickman is adult contemporary music with a pop style, and he does it on the piano. So this is one where you want to probably bring your significant other to. So it's a very, very romantic, I would think, from what I've seen, a very romantic concert. And then we're also working on another blues rock band and a comedian and a couple other ones. So we're in sort of final negotiations. Hopefully some of those pan through, but just, I guess in summary, just a lot of event opportunities at VPAT. So thank you to that team for putting that all together.
Thank you, Commissioner Oz. Any questions or comments for Commissioner Oz on VPAT? All right, thank you so much for those updates. Let's see. Okay, so moving on to agenda item 10, which is reports of Park Manager Wallace Avia.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I just have a couple things for you tonight. The first is finally the repair of the tennis court fencing at Centennial Park has been completed. So I'm sure that the people in our tennis community are happy with the results and being able to play out there again. And then I can't recall who asked.
Let's see, 11, moving on to agenda item 11, reports of Park Planner Nemo Gonzalez, who has park projects updates.
So I went straight into answering questions and I didn't say, good evening, everyone, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners. Great to see you all. Wanted to give a special shout out to Tricia on her first presentation. I think she did great. Just got a few updates for you guys tonight. Starting with Roberts Ranch. See if I can. So phase 1, located north of Fry Road, the dog park is now under construction. I don't know how to zoom out. Give me just a second so I can show you where phase 1 is. Apologies, all of these PDFs are zoomed in. My next update is at Lagoon Valley Park. Both the dog park and the archery improvements are nearly complete, and we anticipate these projects will be ready for bid this fall. Just as a refresher, this is the dog park at Lagoon Valley. This is the archery. The improvement plans at Pheasant Country have been awarded to a contractor, and construction is starting this week. We were just waiting for National Night Out to come through. I apologize. This is Meadowlands Park. Meadowlands Park is actually already under construction. Construction fencing went up, I believe, the second week of July, and is slated to go all the way through October 1st. And some of the improvements that we're getting are adaptive swing. We're getting some improved access to some of the existing facilities, including the basketball court and the picnic area. And we're completing the loop up by the school. This is Pheasant Country here. As I was mentioning, this has been awarded to a contractor, and we were just waiting for National Night Out to be complete in order to start the construction. Fencing should go up this week. Some of the improvements that we're getting here are, again, some improved access to the basketball court. We're repaving the basketball court. We're adding a shade structure with some picnic tables underneath, and we're adding a bocce ball court. And the last update that I had was we've got some scout projects. Park planner Hesterman is working with an Eagle Scout on constructing a trailhead at the Antenna Trail at Lagoon Valley Park, and also at Lagoon Valley Park, removal of tree cages from oak trees that were planted by an acorn 20 years ago. So thanks to him for that collaboration. That's all I've got for you.
All right, thank you, Nemo. Any commissioner questions or comments? Yes, Commissioner Oz.
Thank you, Nemo. Back to Roberts Ranch, were those improvements being phased? I heard the dog park, but then there were some other proposed improvements. I know the pickleball courts are supposed to go in there as well.
Correct. My understanding is that there's 3 phases. Is that correct to you?
Technically 4.
4 phases. Yep.
Okay, great. What phase is the pickleball courts? 2. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other commissioner questions or comments for Nemo? No? All right. Well, thank you so much, Nemo, for the presentation tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so moving on to agenda item 12, we've got reports of Recreation Manager Elizabeth Crisante with program updates.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. Tracy's going to pull up the presentation, so you're going to have to bear with me. It's a little bit long because we haven't met in a couple months, so we've had a lot happening over the summer. So the first thing that we want to mention are a couple things that have been happening at Pina Adobe. We had the Buffalo Soldiers out there on July 1st. They had 140 people in attendance, which is a really great number. There were also the Solano County Sheriff's Posse out there. Our volunteers did docent guided tours of the Adobe. And then, of course, the Solano County Master Gardeners were out there as well. So one of their typical monthly events that they host from 11 to 2, always free to the public. Next slide, Tracy. And so this coming Saturday, they're going to be hosting Native American Heritage Day, and that will be a really great opportunity for community members to visit with local tribe members. There's also going to be a meet and greet with Richard Burrell, who is the author of Unvanquished Ishi's Story. So if you guys have a chance to get out there, please do show them some love and see what they have to offer. It's going to be great. Next slide, Tracy. So one of the things that we kind of want to start doing from time to time is spotlighting some of our specific programs. You often get general program updates from us annually, but one of the things over at the pool. And this program, Quentin's built from the ground up. They compete in AAU and USA Diving sanctioned meets. And then we actually have some of our participants here with all of their hardware, in case you've heard them clanking throughout the meeting. That's really amazing. So I am going to hand it over to Quentin.
Hello. Thank you for the invite. My name is Quentin Mendoza. I have some introductions I want to do here. Starting at the far right here, we have Ben. He's one of our lifeguards, also a diver. He just started with us. We've got Benji, Ava, Jade, Ava, Delaney, Liam, and Garrison. And Kate is right here too. I want to thank all the families for coming and supporting us here tonight as well. So my name is Quentin Mendoza. I'm the athletic director and coach for 707 Diving. I competed as a student athlete at the University of California, Berkeley on their Division I diving team. I've been diving for over 20 years myself. During my career as a competitive diver, I competed against Olympians like Christian Ipsen and Rafael Quintero, and have been judged by diving legends such as Greg Louganis. I started 707 Diving in September of 2017 in an effort to share my passion for this sport. When we started, we had just 3 athletes practicing on Saturdays and Sundays alone. 2 of them are actually here today. Benji and Garrison there at the end. Over a short period of time, these athletes shared their experiences with friends and family, and a few more people got involved. The team had grown to about 5 or 6 within a year, and we began competing. In 2017, one of our masters divers, who you can actually see there in the center, Pat Harrington, he competed in the FINA World Masters Championship in Gwangju, South Korea, representing our country, our community, and our club on an international stage. At this event, he received 3 gold medals, one in the 1-meter springboard event, another in the 3-meter springboard event, and finally another on the 10-meter platform event. He's actually in Fukuoka, Japan right now, representing us as we speak. We couldn't be here tonight, sorry. Though we were forced to take a break for over a year during COVID, we resumed training as soon as possible. Almost all the athletes on our roster from before COVID began diving again in 2021. We got the opportunity to train up to 7 days a week, and our roster of athletes began to grow again. For the 2022-2023 season, we actually have 18 participants on our roster, and of those 18 participants, 8 of them were junior Olympic athletes that qualified to the Region 9 championships in Wyoming this year. Of those 8, 5 qualified onto Zone E championships in Oregon. And from here, we proceeded to take 7 qualifying athletes to nationals in Southern California, where they competed against the best junior Olympic divers in the country. 2 of them, both Kate and Garrison, were actually national finalists. So we're only just getting started. 90% of our athletes have less than 3 years diving experience, and even still, they managed to qualify for nationals. Our success lies in the dedication of our athletes and families to what we stand for, good old-fashioned hard work. And though we've had plenty of success, it hasn't come without challenges. Space, time, facility availability, and knowledge of our sport in Vacaville have been hurdles for growth. We host our own diving meets at the Graham Aquatic Center, but oftentimes we travel quite a ways to compete. Just this year, we've been to Texas, Wyoming, Oregon, Riverside, California, and Mission Viejo for our championship season. On top of travel for meets, we travel twice a month to Marin for 10-meter platform diving practice. Additionally, we utilize a gym space that is separate from the Graham for our weightlifting, spotting belt, and dryland training. I've been in the diving world long enough to know what we need to do. I've always understood it wouldn't be easy to develop a team of champions and foster love and enthusiasm for this sport in our community. If it was easy, everyone would do it. And I can honestly say that our relationship with the city of Vacaville has allowed this dream to become a reality. Both Elizabeth and Jen have been tremendous advocates for me, our team, and the sport of diving here in our community. I know that with them and the city on our side, we can continue to develop the 707 diving program and produce champion divers, all while making diving something that is fun and accessible to everyone in the community. That being said, we're not done. Our program is in its beginning stages, and there's so much more that we can do to make Vacaville the place to be when it comes to diving. From summer camps and introductory lessons groups to hosting regional or even national competitions, we want to put Vacaville on the map in the diving world. So I want to thank you for your time, your support, and the opportunity to speak with you all today, and ask if you guys had any questions or comments for us.
Commissioner questions or comments? I have Commissioner Oz.
Well, thank you, Quentin, for your presentation. Very excited, and we're glad to see. I'm glad that you brought the whole team to be here. Couple questions. Where are your training facilities at then?
So we train at the Graham Aquatic Center,
Okay.
3 Oaks. And then we have a gym that we actually, it's a CrossFit that we share a space with there. And we're actually in the process right now of looking for a space of our own.
So I was glad to hear that you feel that the city's been and staff have been really supportive of your program. So thank you. So, but how could we be supporting you even more? I mean, to take you, I like that you have a vision. You're doing great, but you have a vision beyond where you're going. How can the city support you in that effort?
So mainly having more time at our pool and possibly even our own, diving well. That would be a huge thing for us. Having a gym space as part of the city would be a beneficial thing too. We've had to go elsewhere to do that. And something to get the sport of diving more knowledge about the sport of diving to the community. A lot of people don't even know that this is a sport that's available to them. And I coach people that don't have to have like a gymnastics background, for example. I mean, a lot of my divers right now are gymnasts that have come in with a lot of experience, and a lot of the public, from what we've heard, think, well, they have to be these experienced gymnasts or athletes to begin with to even start, when that's actually not the case. Several of the athletes behind me haven't done anything like gymnastics or any other organized acrobatic type sports at all, and they're thriving. So I guess, more knowledge of our sport in our community, time, availability of facility at the Graham, and, a space that we could do dry land to. Something like that, yeah.
So do you, do the schools have diving teams, and then you're more of a club that
right
provides another? Do you compete with the same time frame, or is your season off from the school season?
So I actually coach all the high schools in the area as well.
And you recruit them.
Right. Yeah. So the high school season is for a short period of time in the fall. We train year round. So a lot of the high schoolers are actually encouraged to train with the club as well if they want to kind of get a head start on things.
It was interesting when you said time in the gym. I was thinking, why do they need time in the gym? There's no water in the gym, but it's a lot of gymnastics. So there's
right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But yeah, I mean, these kids all lift a lot of weights. Many of them will probably tell you they're very sore right now from the most recent workout we did. We also utilize a trampoline with a spotting belt. So they actually are harnessed into a belt, and I will pull them to do all the somersaults and basically get the muscle memory and spatial awareness to do these dives safely at the pool. A great deal of our work happens indoors, and especially through the winter. I mean, it's cold. Some of our nighttime practices are, 7 to 9, and during the winter, it's 38 degrees at night. And fortunately, the city, Jen and Elizabeth have gotten us a hot tub, which is a huge part of a diver's training arsenal, believe it or not. We now need our muscles to be warm. So we're able to do a pretty good job of training throughout the year. But winter is definitely challenging for us as well. Somebody mentioned wind earlier. We experience a lot of that. That's definitely a challenge when we're diving outdoors. Yeah.
Are you advertised in our activity guide?
We are, yes.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Oz. I took my eyes away from the board, so I don't know who's next, but I'm going to go with Commissioner Berumen.
Hey, Quentin, congratulations. Also, you get your athletes over there for their achievements. Yeah, you also mentioned, I didn't even know we had a diving team. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I learned how to dive in the back of the pool over there. Kind of belly flop, and that's not good. But anyways, you do a lot of traveling. Who pays for your funding for the traveling for the team?
Our families do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's associated coaching and meet fees that I set up, to make it possible for us to all travel to these places.
Thank you. Thank you very much for all you do. The only coach in Vacaville that knows how to do diving. That's right. Excellent.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Berumen. Commissioner Shea.
Thank you for the presentation, and for you all for attending. You guys have been here for quite a while, so we appreciate you sticking it in and hanging out till the end. And congratulations on all of your success with your program. I may have just missed it. What are the age ranges for the club?
So it's between the ages of 6, and actually our most experienced diver is 64 years old. That would be Pat. But our core group is between the ages right now of 12 and 18.
Thank you. I was just asking for my own son. He really likes unofficially diving off the biggest board at the public pool. But if we could structure that a little bit, it could be a good thing.
But we do. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Shea. I don't have anyone else, but thank you, Quentin and the team, for coming out tonight. You definitely commend you for having to sit through two hours of our meeting, but congratulations on all your accomplishments. You all sound like a really hardworking and accomplished team, and it sounds like you all have a pretty amazing coach. So keep up the hard work, and thanks for sharing all this with us. This was great, Elizabeth. So thank you for having Quentin come in and share with us more about this program. It definitely got the whole commission awake, and we're like, wow, what an amazing program. So yeah, thank you so much for all that you're doing.
Well, I appreciate the time.
Thanks, Coach Q. So that's kind of why we wanted to do a little spotlight to just shed some light on some programs you may not be familiar with. And obviously, 707 Diving is unique because it is the only springboard diving team in Solano County. And we are planning to have a dive meet, a competitive dive meet with multiple clubs in September. So once we have that date solidified, we'll invite you all out so you can actually see the team in action. It's very cool. We hosted our first meet last July, and it was amazing just to see all the talent out there. So thank you for allowing us to do this tonight. Next slide, Tracy. Okay, so a couple of more events that we hosted in July. We had the dive-in movie night at the pool just last weekend. It was really great. Mother Nature cooperated with little to no wind, so the screen didn't blow away. We showed DC Super Pets, which was a fan favorite. We also hosted the T-ball opening ceremony on July 8th, so thank you so much to Vice Chair McMahon and Commissioner Berumen for coming out. Councilmember Wiley was also there. Vice Mayor Wiley. So it was a really awesome day. Mother Nature cooperated then too. We were able to get in and out before the heat set in, and all the T-ball teams they did just awesome. So that program is happening right now, taking place at Keating Park. And if you guys have extra time, maybe do a drive-by in the evenings or on the weekends and you'll see them out there. Next slide, Tracy. A few upcoming events that we have, our big end of summer concert on August 19th is Confunction. We're hosting them at Andrews Park. That'll be from 7 to 8:30, and you can get your tickets right now for $20 up until the 12th. After that, they'll be $25. I believe our VIP is all sold out, so too bad, you have to do general admission. Kind of a moving target right now, but regardless of how many, it'll be a really fun night. So please feel free to come check that out. We'll send you a formal invite by email. And this hasn't been hosted since 2019, so we're really stoked that it's coming back. Next slide, Tracy. And so moving on to some of our public art that's getting a facelift, we are looking at sculptures at Ulatis. So just looking at what the proposed colors are on that right-hand side. Nothing spectacularly out of the norm, just giving it a facelift and kind of a reboot so that it's a little fresher looking. So we've got those two sculptures there, and then the next two, you can see it's going to be pretty standard. Next slide, Tracy. We've got some new public art that was recently put up inside Ulatis. This is called Reborn from Traces, #1, #2, and #3 by Angela Arteritano. I'm really trying to not butcher that. They're really amazing in person, so I encourage you to go by and take a look at them. This slide does not do them justice. Next slide, Tracy. And then coming soon, more public art. Have you heard about the cows? We've got cows coming to Vacaville. So this is a really exciting project that we've been kind of partnering with Visit Vacaville on. We're having cows come in that local businesses can purchase and paint. And I'm sure you've seen in other cities that you've traveled to where this is a kind of a common thing. So we're pretty excited that we're going to be able to join them on that journey. So if you know any businesses that are interested, by certainly, pardon me?
They're sold.
They're all sold. Yeah. Never mind.
Wow.
The cows are gone. So we're getting cows. Next slide, Tracy. And that was actually the last one. So any questions or comments about stuff that's happened or upcoming?
How many cows were sold?
There are six total cows.
Oh,
and
so that's
just to be clear, those are just examples.
Okay.
Right. Those are from other communities. Our cows are currently being painted
potentially as we speak, there might be an artist working on the cows, but that just started last week. They were delivered. And so that work is underway and they are really gung ho trying to get those out for Arts Week mid-September, as Commissioner McMahon mentioned.
Nice. And is it all local artists? And
You know, I know that there are definitely local artists. I know specifically of one, Angela Territano, that did the work for us recently, is one of the artists. I don't, that's all being done by Visit Vacaville, and I don't have all the artists' names or know exactly if they're, I know they tried, and that is always a goal.
Awesome. Commissioner Shea's got comments or questions.
I was just wondering if that is something that you might consider reopening in the future, or selling more cattle for our project, if it's popular.
Visit Vacaville's goal is, they've stated, is to always grow the herd with the idea to add 6 cows every year. So that is the intention.
Awesome.
All right, thank you. Any other commissioner questions or comments for Elizabeth or Melody? All right, well, thank you so much, Elizabeth, for all those updates. I love the program highlight. That was amazing and great to hear from the divers, and they sat through 2 hours of our meeting. Okay.
Just so you know, I warned him.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to agenda item 13, reports of director, which Melody Ocampo, Recreation Manager, will do since our Director Hubbard is absent tonight.
Yes, Director Hubbard just has a few items that he asked me to pass along to you. Tracy, if you could get to, just a couple things here. Excited to announce that our department budget was approved at the June 27th council meeting. Yay. And then we are going to be working with a consulting firm to do a department operational assessment. This is just something to help us identify efficiencies and make sure that we're looking towards the future and are staffed up in order to meet the needs of the community. And then we have a facility tour date. This is something that if it hasn't gone out to you, I know Tracy will be sending it soon, to just get this on all the commissioners' calendars for Saturday, October 14th, 9 to noon. We've done this in the past. It's a great way for the commissioners to get to know our different facilities. We don't visit them all. That would take an entire weekend and probably then some, but we try and highlight a few. This is something we do every year. And of course, the public is noticed and invited to that as well. And then some exciting news on behalf of Commissioner Thompson. He asked us to just share some of the amazing achievements of Vacaville American Little League, the all-star team for the 10, 11, 12 and under teams. First place in District 64 in the all-star tournament, first place in the NorCal Section 1 all-star tournament. Unfortunately, we could not get the standings for the July 27th game. I don't know if any of the commissioners happen to know. Okay, we hope to hear good news soon. And then Vacaville Pony, as you all know, hosted the Mustang 9 and Under World Series at Keating Park just July 21st through 24th, and they competed in that series. Unfortunately, the championship did not go to us, but we were excited to host teams from not only across the nation, but the world. So those are my updates for this evening. Oh, yes, sorry, the picture, we have a fabulous picture of our championship team there from the 12 and under team. Yeah.
Good. Any commissioner questions or comments for Melody? All right, well, thank you so much for all those updates, and congratulations to Val and Pony for all their competition and their wins. Let's see, moving on to 14A, which is appointment of 3 commissioners to serve on ad hoc naming committee. Are there any volunteers who'd like to sit on the committee? I would throw out there that I would be willing to sit on this as well. I'm not currently sitting on any outside committees, so I'd be happy to sit on that. But I don't know if others would.
I've not seen any committees.
Okay, so Rumen and Vasquez, any others? We can't get 3, is 2 enough of us? Oh. Okay, great. And I think I need a motion
And I'll second.
Sorry, I'm looking down in this direction. Okay, so a motion from McMahon?
Yes.
And a second from Shay. And all those in favor? Aye. And any opposed? Okay, awesome. All right, thank you all. That was easy. Okay, so item 15, reports of commission. I have Commissioner Oz up first.
Chair, it's great to be back with you after the July absence. It was a great meeting. Thank you, Hugh, for all of your work on the Centennial Park Master Plan. It's great that we're advancing that very important project. Elizabeth, thank you very much for inviting the diving team. I think that was very very hopeful to bring that to put that spotlight on that team. I'd like to see more of that if you. And then just lastly, we had Joan and Alice were two of our speakers today that from District 6. They're really the community activists within District 6, work closely with Vice Chair Wiley. And I just wanted to also echo some of their comments about their efforts. The meeting that we had on Saturday was really about just trying to, if you think about the Southtown area, between Southtown and Village Meadows and some of the other developments, that's like 2,000 homes. And we're just not seeing a lot of supporting development out there, namely like a Journey Coffee where the community can sort of gather and meet. So that's really sort of the effort. And my understanding is that there's two sites. One's a neighborhood commercial site, and then another one is a public site that's available. But if we can't really demonstrate and try to get some either a public use or some type of a commercial use where it can sort of bring the neighborhood together, where it just gets filled in with more homes. So what we're trying to do is to try to bring some development that will be of such that'll provide some opportunities for those members of the Southtown area to try to gather and create sort of an identity beyond Southtown. And then my understanding as well is that the second phase is really to perhaps for right now is to use part of the parking lot at Magnolia Park to create some type of a regular evening event where you can have a pop-up, you can have some community gatherings, some pop-up of different vendors, and start to create a little bit of an identity within just the Southtown area. Certainly it would be open to the entire city, but we just don't want that whole area just to be a sea of homes without having some contrasting opportunities for the community. So that's what we're really working towards.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Oz. I have Commissioner Berruman next.
Yeah, our first meeting back, wow, that was so much material today. It was so much happening. At the same time, welcome, Trish. Thank you very much for your presentation tonight. And I'm hoping that gentleman, I think his name was Paul, that volunteered to fund the misting. I hope we take him up on that. That is pretty awesome that he's willing to put his fellow plumbers together and throw that, because it is well needed out there. We don't want anybody passing out. And thank you I didn't know we had a diving team. That was pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty, and obviously they have a lot of talent too. Obviously they've been winning some achievements and medals, and that's all good. It's glad to be back, and look to the fall in August. We got a lot of things happening in August. So for that, good night for me.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Berruman. I have Vice Chair McMahon.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm going to keep it short tonight and just say thank you to all the staff. I always say we're about to enter the busy season, but it's always the busy season for Parks and Rec, whether it's summer or winter, and your efforts and your dedication and commitment to the community is much appreciated. So thank you to all of you. You do a great job. You think about the events, they're the evenings or the weekends. It is a 7-day-a-week department, and you guys and gals are out there all the time, and you represent this department and the city very well, and we appreciate it. So thank you, everyone.
You, Vice Chair McMahon, got Commissioner Shea next.
I just wanted to echo Commissioner Berman's statement about the misters for the dog park. I mean, if that's an opportunity, we already talked, about extended timelines and when things are actually going to happen out at Centennial. It's been a long time coming, but it's still a little bit longer until it really does come. So having the opportunity for somebody to collaborate and get some out there much sooner than, CEQA and the design phase and all of those other things that are coming up could be a great opportunity. I also wanted to thank staff. I've been seeing, all of my friends on social media and their kids, and, they're just like doing camps and doing, the pool camp. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but just tons of activities, all of the sporting leagues. I mean, you guys have it is quite the charcuterie of offerings that the department is putting out there. It's nice to really see, everything ramping up again from those COVID days that we'd all like to put very, very far in the back of our minds. But you guys are stepping up to the plate quite nicely, and I can't imagine how busy you are. So thank you for all the work that you put in. Happen to think that you're one of the best departments in our city government, but I think we're a little biased up here. But thank you, and thank you for the presentation, Elizabeth. I also really enjoyed getting to hear from the diving team personally, and just as a commissioner too. I feel a little guilty because I also did not know that we had one, so I was kind of up here just like, oh, I had no clue that was an offering, and I feel like I go through the portal all the time and look at stuff, and I had never seen that. So that's really good information. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Shea. Yeah, same as everyone. Thank you all. It was a lot of information tonight, a lot of good stuff. But it feels like we've been gone for a while, and the summer just sort of flew right by us. With the school year quickly approaching, it's scary to think we're starting another school year. But I know, well, I'm actually kind of ready for them to be out of the house. So we wrapped up baseball. We also, with our middle and our youngest, wrapped up Little League with Vacaville American, and they played All-Stars, and it was a long baseball season. But our youngest is now going and getting ready for soccer. So he did a soccer camp this summer through the city with Just for Kicks, and so he did it twice. So that was a lot of fun. It was a couple hot days, but he had a lot of fun out at Arlington Park, and we really appreciate Coach Al and Just for Kicks, and all of our kids have gone through it. So we're looking forward now to rec season with Vacaville United Soccer League. But yeah, it was a busy summer. I was able to get out to Pride along with my fellow Commissioner Shea. The Pride Festival at Andrews Park in June. Also attended Juneteenth in Fairfield, which was a really great event, and hopefully maybe Vacaville could expand our Juneteenth celebration, or maybe convince Solano Black Chamber of Commerce to come to Vacaville and host the event in Vacaville. That would be awesome. And then also was able to get out to Relay for Life, which is another great event that happened downtown. Again, they moved it from the high school site to downtown. So this is the second year it's been out there, and they had another successful fundraising event. They raised a lot of money. I wasn't able to get to the Dreamer Park opening. I heard there was a little bit of time delay in it starting. I don't know if Commissioner Berman got out there, but it sounded like it ended up happening later than expected, so I wasn't able to get out there later. And then also recently, if you haven't been to a Starbound Theater production at VPAT, I would highly recommend it. They are a great theater of youth, doing some really cool things, and I've taken the kids now. This is the second summer, and it's a fun, again, like Commissioner Oz was saying, that we have all these offerings in Vacaville of performances, but also then when our youth get to get out there and use the facilities themselves, it's really it's really fun just to watch them. So they performed Lion King Jr. last weekend, and it was great. And with that, that's all that I have. Best of luck as you all transition back to school. I know most of you all have kids here still, so we're there almost in a couple of weeks. And Commissioner McMahon and I both have seniors starting this year, senior high schoolers. So we're on a different train, but we're really excited for the new school year to start. And thank you all again for all the amazing information and presentations tonight. And looking forward to some stuff happening with Parks and Rec with all of the master plans. And with that, good night, Vacaville. The meeting is adjourned until, oh gosh, where's my notes? September. Let's see, September. The meeting is adjourned to Wednesday, September 6th. Thank you. Good night.